Hey, y'all, it's Orlando. Want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast episode are those of the co-hosts and guests and not their sponsoring institutions. Now, let's start the show. Hello, Detroit and the world. Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from the Zoom platform in partnership with the Audio Wave Network studios inside the Stoudemire Wellness Hub, sponsored by the Ford Foundation and a content partner to bridgedetroit.com. Happy Black History Month, everybody. We are blackity black all month, so strap in for the ride. I'm Orlando Bailey.
And I'm Donna Givens-Davidson.
Thank y'all so much for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people on the east side of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. We drop a new episode every week, so be sure to turn on those notifications. Today, we are excited to welcome back Dwan Dandridge. Dwan is the founder of Black Leaders Detroit, which is a fund that finances the hopes and dreams of Black leaders in business, the creative space, and nonprofit spaces doing amazing work in Detroit. This man rode his bike from Detroit to Mackinac last fall, in case y'all need a reminder as to who he is, because he was all over the news last fall. Dwan Dandridge, welcome back to Authentically Detroit.
Thanks. I am so glad to be here. I've been looking forward to talking to y'all for a minute. It's always good to be able to catch up.
Yeah, man, it's always good to have you. All right, so before we get into it all, let's check in. How was the day finding each of you?
Happy Tuesday, waiting on the storm.
Winter is, I feel like Game of Thrones, like the Night Walkers are coming. Oh, Donna, what was the name of the group that guarded the gates of the city? Oh man.
Oh my goodness. If I could only remember.
The Night's Watch?
Yes.
Night Watch. Yes.
Night Watch. Yeah.
Come on now, Dwan, bring the facts, okay?
Yes. Where's Jon Snow?
Right.
Yes.
Waiting the storm. Yeah, we do have, so we're going to share some information with you guys listening around some tips that the city wants you to know before the end of the show. But yeah, we are bracing for a crazy storm. If you rode by Kroger today, you would know what I'm talking about. It's like COVID, the beginning of COVID all over again. Folks are getting ready to hunker down. Yeah.
Wow.
Our coffee maker broke down. So as we speak, Kevin is at Meyer purchasing a replacement coffee maker, because you know what, you got to have coffee, right? I'm like, I can't get through this whole snowdemic without coffee.
Snowdemic.
Wow.
Snowmageddon.
Wow. You got everybody out there trying to get some real, like, serious, like, necessities. Donna, y'all getting a whole coffee maker?
Yeah.
Yes, our coffee maker broke down this morning. I smelled the coffee. Every morning Kevin makes coffee. I smelled the coffee grounds. I was waiting for my fresh cup. And he was like, so the coffee maker's not working.
Wow.
And that's a ritual. Like the smell, the making it, like all of that, just, it does something for me. It puts me, honest to God, like I like to do it every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have a Keurig in our house. So look, the teenagers are the coffee drinkers more than anybody right now. And so I don't do coffee, but I do know what you're describing in that smell, because I can remember that in my grandmother's house, like the smell of the fresh coffee, and we would always ask her for some. And y'all know what she used to say to us, what coffee would do to us. But
you know what? Both my grandmothers gave me coffee when I was young.
Me too.
They gave us a little coffee and they put a whole lot of milk in it and some sugar in it. And it tasted almost like, hot chocolate. It was so good.
Right.
And that's how I
Oh,
still drink
that
my
pet
coffee
milk, that
today,
milk in the
okay?
can,
Oh
Donna.
wow.
No, condensed milk. Oh,
Wow.
you know,
Yes.
come
The
on now.
condensed, evaporated milk in the can.
Evaporated milk.
Wow.
Yes, that was like our cream. You know, you didn't really use real cream. There was no half and half. You had the
Right.
can,
That
pet
was
milk,
it.
whatever it was.
Yep.
And you had to open it with the can opener. And that was the best coffee ever. I remember percolators, right? Before we had Keurigs and drip coffee, we had the
Yeah.
percolators, and the percolator coffee would just warm up the house. I don't know why percolators went out of fashion. I am tempted to buy a percolator so I can see if it still tastes as good as it used to. But
It's so good.
oh, it's so perfect.
Yeah, I'm a coffee person. Dwan, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. I'm excited. You know, I got some real downtime during the break, and you know, we hit the ground running at the beginning of the year, and we got a lot of stuff coming up. Lots of work for us to do, but you know, impactful work. And you know, again, I feel like I have the best job in the world. Like, you know, giving checks to Black folks.
Yeah. You have the best job in the world because you created the job that you wanted.
No, listen, I'm gonna fight you on the best job in the world because I love what I do too.
I
I
know
think
that's
it's
right,
always
Donna.
great. We're so fortunate when we are living our purpose and working
Yes.
our purpose. I think
Yes.
about the absolute tragedy of the former Miss Universe who killed herself at 30. But if you read the article that she wrote when she was 29 and about to turn 30, it was shocking to me. It was just absolutely shocking. She talked about being old and her worth and how she had been chasing all of these trophies and she had been so achievement oriented and it felt empty. And no matter how hard she tried, it felt empty. And I thought, if there's never a better example of why we have to live our purpose. I'm not going to minimize the role that mental health played in all of that. But I do think that part of just chasing money, chasing trophies contributes to bad mental health. When you are chasing purpose, your life gets full by that purpose. Now, you may still need to see a therapist, so, you know, God bless. But I think when you created something, and I remember when you announced it, we were at the Duffield as a society, and we had a meeting that Marlo had called together with the head of the Michigan State Police. And afterwards, you closed the door and you said, "This is what I'm going to do."
Yep.
And 3 years later, is it 3 years now?
We are going on 3 years.
Yeah.
Yep, we're going on
3 years later, it's in full swing. You actually have staff, you've got a physical location, you're giving out money. Your dream, I remember hearing it for the first time and now seeing you actually live and walk in that purpose is truly amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, what you don't know about that time is like how affirmed I was by your response when I talked about it, right? And as well as Marlo. And like I never knew how much I needed that, right? Like I'm a, you know, strong Black male that grew up in some of the rougher neighborhoods in Detroit, right? So like admitting that you need something or somebody is not something that I was like taught to do. But on this journey, what I get when I talk to like people like the two of you that have been like wanting to see something like this our whole lives, and like saying like I believe you can do. We have some lofty goals, right? Like we're trying to create a system, right? We talk about disrupting systems. We're creating a system, and it's a lot of work. But the fact that y'all, like, we didn't know each other that well back then, Donna, and you signed up right away. Orlando did the same thing, right? Signed up right away when he heard the idea, right? And we you know, given money to places before that we don't feel like they necessarily did what we wanted them to do or what they said they were going to do, right? So the fact that y'all believed and encouraged by way of making a donation in real time, but also just the way that y'all have been like champions and cheerleaders for the work that we do since then, definitely makes it easier for me to work through some of the more difficult things that aren't the parts of the job that I love. So I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
I enjoy seeing folks like you, Dwan, and folks like Donna in their genius zone, and when needed to, are fully capable and able to enact that genius to make something dope happen. It really is. It
Thank
really
you.
is amazing to watch.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Donna, to your point about, purpose, America, but I feel like Black America specifically has been taking a beating with all of these deaths that have been announced and that we are seeing. And I saw somebody say this, and I'll say this: death, go on vacation for a little while. Leave us alone for a minute. Let us get our bearings and get it together. Once again, and I am an advocate for this, and maybe we'll do a show on this. Take care of your mental, invest in the therapist, call the friend, do whatever you need to do. I've been in therapy for 4 years. There's nothing to be ashamed. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Part of the reason why so many of you love my friends, love me, is because we do the work in therapy to show up our best selves. So you guys take care of yourselves. Thoughts and prayers are with her family, Regina King's family. I mean, so many tragic deaths have been announced in the beginning of this year. So go on vacation, Death. Leave us alone. Let us get prepared for this snow.
No, I agree with you. I think that it took me a minute. I think I just had this revelation this week that I had been really impacted by the pandemic emotionally. That it got to the point where I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to see anybody. And I was becoming increasingly reclusive. And it's like, what's going on here? And it's all this unprocessed grief that makes everything hard. Like when I see people and I'm out and about, then I have to deal with my grief because there's certain people who won't be there. And so I think also just being kind to ourselves and dealing with the fact that we are literally in the midst of a pandemic. It's not in the past, it's still happening every day there's somebody new. Somebody either I know directly or know indirectly, or somebody in the community. A lot of them are younger than me, or my age or whatever. And it's just a lot. So I agree with you. I think that getting spiritual help and mental help is important. And part of it is just really admitting I've got an issue here.
Yeah. One of my favorite items of clothing that I own is a hoodie that says Jesus in therapy.
Right.
That combination for me is clutch. It has been. It has been clutch. Take care of yourself.
I feel like we're in a just a different time as a people, right? Like where people are like normalizing talking about and challenging us when it comes to like therapy, right? I think that that wasn't
especially Black men, Dwan.
Yeah, no.
Where you from?
Yeah. And I it's funny because like I have 3 children, 2 are teenagers, and we talk about like mental health challenges and problems and depression, right? And I think that this generation, for me, I think that there was a time when I was like, man, like this generation is coming up is soft. Like they can't handle the stuff that like we dealt with. And that's changed after talking to so many of the young people and my position being challenged by people that just understand mental health better than I do. I think I see them as brave, right? Because the way we took the approach that we took was we suppressed things and we got up the next day and we act like yesterday didn't happen. And nobody created a space for us to say, hey, what you experienced yesterday was really, really jacked up and you shouldn't have. Do you need to talk about it? Let's process it, right? Like we were just like, no, nobody's gonna talk about yesterday, no matter what it was, we're just gonna keep on living. And we suppressed it. And some of that stuff resurfaces 20, 30 years later. And you still don't know how to deal with it and you aren't given the tools. But I think this generation is saying, no, like I'm not doing well. Like I can't handle all of this. And I'm getting ready to like implode, right? And I don't think that it's soft. I just think that they're brave enough to say, no, I'm gonna deal with what I'm really dealing with right now. And we weren't. brave enough or given an invitation and a space to.
Or privileged enough, right? It's a
Yeah.
function of privilege to be able to deal with that. We come from a people who dealt with tragedy and had to go to work the next day and function and hide it and hold ourselves together and be strong so that we could believe we could survive.
Yeah.
And we pass that on and pass that on so that that becomes part of the cherished character of a people is look how strong I am despite all of this. I remember growing up and hearing stories about my grandmother, and she was like Superwoman. Okay. I was like, how did she do all that? You know, I've tried to live up to her my entire adult life. But I never looked at the fact that all of that strength, she had to bear scars, and those scars never got to heal. And so we have the privilege, some of us, of giving our children and grandchildren and now ourselves an opportunity to begin healing and say, we're not just going to function in survival mode, we're going to live. And this pandemic and, you know, snowdemic, whatever's going on, the weather, the economic stuff that we're going through has really brought it all to a head. Yeah. And so I think hopefully we can definitely bring in somebody to talk about mental health, spiritual health, and the need for us to function in purpose, but also ask for help when we need it.
All of the things. Yeah. So Detroit, you all take care of yourselves out there. We know that it is increasingly gray and increasingly cold, and we miss the sun. And I know that this kind of time is a palpable time and a hard time for a lot of us. We see you, we hear you, we love you. Take care of yourself. Reach out to us if you need to. We'll find you some help. All right, it's time for Hot Takes, y'all, where we run down some of the week's top headlines in the city of Detroit. Detroiters can appeal their property values this month. What to know? So last week, I think one of the biggest pieces of news that came out last week is that the mayor held a press conference around the new assessments, number one, that were getting ready and had gone out, and the rise in property values all around the city of Detroit. And the mayor and one of the city assessors, went on television and, began to tout the hard work that the city has been putting in to make to spur property value increases, and that this could be, and this is, a win for city homeowners who need, a boost and an increase in wealth. I want to let you know that, and this is in Bridge, Detroit. Nishrat Rahman wrote this in Bridge, Detroit. Last year, the average Detroit home value went up 31%. And it continues a 5-year growth trend. Some neighborhoods like East English Village, Chandler Park, and Corktown saw at least a 60% increase. And these are projections that are based on a recent sales study and citywide property value analysis. One of the things that the mayor did not tout or neglected to mention in his talking points is the nuance that since the Great Recession in 2008, compounded by the property tax foreclosure crisis that have happened in the city of Detroit, that we have lost tens of thousands of Black homeowners in the city of Detroit. And so while this, for the people who were able and fortunate enough to hold on to their homes, for the people who lost their homes because of predatory lending, for the people who lost their homes in property tax foreclosures, some as little as $1,000 and $2,000, that wealth increase, that bump in wealth increase that he is touting is completely misplaced and unknown to those folks who have lost their homes because of bad policy on the federal and state and local level. And I think there has to be an acknowledgement of that. There has to be that nuance added when we talk about property values rising in the city of Detroit. Who's buying these properties? East English Village, I know of a certain that those properties saw a steep rise. Who's buying it? Where's the money coming from? Who's giving out these mortgages? That's number one. The second thing that I would want to bring to bear in this conversation is that Detroit is now a majority renter city. So the majority of the Detroiters that are living in the city are not benefiting from this sharp increase. And so, yes, congratulations on property values increasing. And I think part of the reason has nothing to do with what the city did, but because people wanted to live in single family homes when COVID-19 hit, right? But we'll give it to Mayor Duggan, right? We'll give it to him and all of his plans and strategic neighborhoods. But let's also tell y'all, let's tell the whole story. So many people feel locked out of this good news, and
Well,
rightfully
I'm sorry, assuming it's good. I want to give him credit, but nobody's been able to look at his study and look at the data for a study and say this is actually true, have they?
Yeah, not yet. The city hasn't
Yeah.
released it yet.
So
They
the
have it,
city's
but it
saying
has to be
this,
released.
but we haven't been able to back it up. I know there's still many neighborhoods in Detroit where you can't get a mortgage, where people are still paying cash for homes. So who's assessing? Are appraisers going in there and saying this home is worth 30% more or 20% more or any more? Or appraisers saying that this home value cannot be assessed because we don't have any comparable sales inside of this neighborhood to get it there. So I'm sitting here with a huge, I don't know, I believe that East English Village, Jefferson Chalmers, and Island View has certainly seen property value increases, but there are so many areas that haven't. And I think that those are the neighborhoods where you tend to see over assessments. And so the data isn't, the devil is in those details, and I want to see them. Property value increases don't really matter when whole communities are not, can't receive mortgages.
And can't benefit from it. We also want to let you know that your property taxes are going up at about 3% because under the Michigan law, property tax increases are capped at the rate of inflation as long as you stay in the house. And so expect about a 3% property tax raise. And so the bill is going to be a little bit more than what you have been used to seeing. But if you feel like your home has been overassessed, there is a process by which you can make an appeal to the assessor's office, right? So between now and March 8th and March 26th is the time for the board to review, and you can appeal your property taxes. Just go down or go to the assessor's website to do that.
If you're,
at least, go ahead, Donna.
If you're in the east side of Detroit, call 313-571-2800 if you're interested in an appeal, and we will try to connect you with an attorney, because the other thing is there's a legal process attached to that. And Dr. Atuahene's clinic has been helpful in connecting people with attorneys. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like this year, but we've done it in the past, and I'm hopeful we'll be able to replicate that this year. The other thing is that it's always helpful to understand what the basis is. When you start talking about tax increase, Dr. Atuahene has researched and documented that there are still some neighborhoods that were overassessed in 2021, in 2020, in 2019. And so increasing property values in those neighborhoods and not correcting prior overassessments is a concern. Now, the city has said that there are no overassessments, that the mayor corrected all of that, but that is being disputed by a law professor who has done a great deal of research and the Coalition for Property Tax Justice. And so I think, again, the jury is still out. I'd love to see it. I'd love to believe that wealth is increasing across the board in all neighborhoods. But until an independent third party has looked at that data, it's going to be hard to validate it and celebrate for me.
All right, more to come on that. Mike Duggan withdraws Deputy Mayor Conrad Mallett nomination. Donna, what say you?
Well, we have a new city council, and the new city council there's no rubber stamp anymore. So the mayor put forth Deputy Mayor Conrad Mallett, who had been not only a Michigan Supreme Court justice, but also the Chief Justice in the Michigan Supreme Court before stepping down several years ago and going back into private practice before he ended up at the Detroit Medical Center with Mayor Duggan, before he helped run his campaigns, before he joined the mayor's office as deputy mayor. And I think there's a reasonable concern that he will not function with independence, that he has a biased relationship with the mayor, and that bias interferes with his representation of the city as a third party. What we don't want to see is a William Barr, Donald Trump kind of relationship where the deputy mayor serves as mayor's private attorney and chief cheerleader over the mayor's project, but a third neutral party who's responsible for that. And so Angela Whitfield Callaway has been insistent. She said, let's put on the books that we want to have the mayor to conduct a thorough search. And the city council was supposed to vote on this last week. And then they delayed it for a week so they could do further investigation. I think the mayor withdrew it because he understood it would not pass. And that speaks to the value of having an independent Detroit City Council that is representing the citizens of the city of Detroit. We have a strong mayor government. And what we don't need the government to do is to promote the mayor's agenda. I mean, what we don't need the corporation council to do is promote the mayor's agenda without looking at all sides. Lawrence Garcia has been accused of being very biased. He got into it with the inspector general for the city, Ellen Ha. He got into conflict with her. She filed a complaint. He stepped down. And so I think there's also precedence of the mayor perhaps abusing his relationship with the corporation council, or the corporation council not acting independently. So the mayor said very few attorneys meet the criteria of having, this legal mind and also administrative experience. He was pleased when former Chief Justice Comrade Meld agreed to be considered. But when it became clear that a number on city council had reservations about confirming Mr. Meld within this charter's short confirmation period, I withdrew his nomination. In cooperation with City Council, I will continue working towards a permanent appointee with a strong administrative and municipal background. So hats off to our new City Council members who are looking out and saying, let's have a check and balances on the legislative side to ensure the integrity of our city government.
Yeah, it is definitely something that folks need to, be have their eyes on and akin to, especially the top lawyer in the city. That, I think that when the top lawyer in the city sued Black Lives Matter protesters, right? I mean, like these are the kinds of things, just in case if you're wondering what these lawyers sometimes do, what the corporation council does, right. Sue Black Lives Matter protesters who were brutalized by the Detroit Police Department. Y'all remember the pictures? Y'all remember seeing the chokehold, right? And so you really do want somebody that has an eye and an inclination toward equity and justice, not the mayor's pals. And so I'm interested to see what happens next with that. Really quickly, I want to let everybody know, Donna, before we move on and talk to Dwan, that DTE Energy is going to be has proposed a rate increase. And I want everybody who's listening to check your bills, because you may have already seen an increase. They need to fund, they want to fund $388 million to modernize and improve the reliability of the state's energy grid and electric storage and generation system, right? And so there are plans for like these upgrades. And so they are asking, I forget the name of the entity that they need to go through to add the Michigan Public Service Commission. Yeah. But they can enact the increase before the Michigan Public Service Commission puts their stamp on it. So you guys need to make sure that you are checking your bills to ascertain if there's an increase. I certainly saw an increase in mine and called some friends of mine and people that I know at DTE, like, hey, what's going on? And they were able to explain it to me. But this happened, it seemed like it happened very quietly. So if you are a resident in the city of Detroit and you already are struggling to pay your electric bill, and this rate increase is providing a hardship for you, once again, reach out for help. Reach out. There's help out here. Don't struggle in the dark. Don't struggle in the cold. Call 313-571-2800
Yeah, we're doing a couple of things now. We're helping people access, resources to help pay their bills or reduce their bills. We're helping people get into shut-off protection. And then the other thing is that we are now an approved partner with DTE to do energy assistance work on people's homes, whether that is insulation, new doors, windows, new furnace, and new hot water heaters. So that process is a little slow going because we're still working out the details, but please give us a call if you're interested in any of that, and we will be happy to provide direct assistance to you. And let your friends and neighbors know, because a lot of these funds are underutilized. A lot of these funds get awarded and people aren't using them because people don't know how, or people do know how, and there's so many hoops that people have to jump through, they get frustrated and they give up. Don't give up. Call us. We will help walk you through the process. We will help you with an appeals process so that you get what has been allocated. One of the ways that the Public Service Commission, Michigan Public Service Commission, response to DTE is DTE says, well, we know this will harm poor people. We have these programs. And so the programs are used to justify and satisfy concerns of legislators and also of people in the bureaucracy. There's only one way to fight back against that, and that is to use the resources that exist. It may take time, but please call and get those resources used.
All right, that wraps up Hot Takes. If you have pieces that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Okay, so we have Dwan Dandridge on with us today to talk about the new no interest loan product that Black Leaders Detroit is rolling out for Black-owned businesses in the city of Detroit during Black History Month in the nation's largest majority Black city. Dwan, first off, for listeners who don't know, right, let's just start from the beginning. Tell us about Black Leaders Detroit and where y'all located at.
So Black Leaders Detroit is a funding vehicle for Black entrepreneurs operating in the city of Detroit. We provide no interest loans to the for-profit sector, grants to the nonprofit sector. At least that's the way we were set up to operate when we started the organization in 2019. We decided to pivot in 2020 to respond to the devastation the pandemic was causing on the small business community, and we've been providing grants from April 2020 to now for the for-profit sector and nonprofit sector alike. And we are headquartered at the Mary Grove Conservancy.
Yay, shout out to Rachel Allen at the Mary Grove Conservancy. We have to have her on to talk about all the amazing things that they're doing over there.
Yes, we got some dope neighbors
Women's
here.
History Month, right? We'll have her on in March.
So I have like Kari Turner's office is right across from mine, and Sherelle Hogan is next door.
Wow.
With Pure Heart Foundation.
Pure Heart.
Anthony White with Detroit Youth Choir is like right around the corner. So like that's what I get to see when I'm coming to and from work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's like a brain trust inside of there.
Yes.
Lots of people who are holding it up. How many staff do you have? So
currently we have 3 full-time staff members, and we have some of our other needs. We hired an organization called Miracon, headed by a young, brilliant Detroiter, James Murray, and he has additional staff that he brings on to take care of some of the responsibilities. We are actually interviewing for a loan officer now, and we're going to make a decision on that as fast as next week. That's going to be the person that's kind of helping us manage the no interest loans. So we're really excited about that. And that's going to be another full-time position.
That is amazing.
Wow, it's amazing.
I remember
so
when
happy
you
Black History Month again. What is the state of Black leadership in Detroit in 2022?
So Black leadership in as a whole, or Black Leaders Detroit?
No, Black leadership in Detroit.
So
Last year, I think you were involved in Black and All, where you were helping to outline some of these issues and build us up. So help us understand what Black leadership looks
where
like.
he deposited that famous quote.
Yeah.
submit to Black leadership. Go ahead, Dwan.
Yes, yes,
Exactly.
yes. I mean, yes, it hasn't changed, right? I think one of the things that I've been wrestling with is, again, and Orlando's heard me talk about this. There is a way that sometimes we're received when we go into spaces and we speak really honestly, right? Like Marlo had a knack for saying what really needed to be said in real
And the white
time.
people still loved him after.
It's still exactly, right? So I think that one of the things that I've just wrestled with is sometimes when I go into spaces and I say what we really mean, I know we really mean it because when we're talking amongst ourselves, like we're all in agreement, right? But white people are surprised sometimes and they act like they're just hearing it for the first time. So as we like throw around terms like unapologetically Black, my prayer is that in 2022 we actually like operate and we move like that, like as if we're really unapologetically Black. And I'm a bridge builder. Like nobody like I'm not convinced that I should work with Black people exclusively, even though our goal is to support Black people exclusively, right? So like I believe in working with people across cultural divides, belief divides, and the whole nine. But I think that if we're still code switching, and I think code switching is probably not the right word in our city, that like we're 80%, like we haven't embraced the power that we possessed. So I think that we still have, obviously, as we talk about some of my neighbors and the two of you, and we can probably all go on a list of amazing people that are doing brilliant work, and we have all kinds of hope because we know the people that are out here and like are just killing it. I still like to sometimes focus and give us highlight some of the challenges and some of the work that we still have to do in stretching and growing ourselves. So that's one of the things I'd love to see us do is like be Blackity Black, you know what I mean, in some of these whitey white spaces. You know what I'm saying?
And then we need to back each other up, right? Because sometimes we get out there and we say some things, other people don't know that's not, I don't know where they're coming from, and it allows you to be marginalized. We cannot allow our leaders to be marginalized. When you say things like follow Black leadership, we have to elevate that and agree. Yeah. Because the consequence of doing the opposite, what happens in different private places. But I feel as though we're getting to a point where we're willing to use the word Black, first of all, to describe something, as opposed to people of color initiative, people of color leaders, Detroit. You said Black leaders, Detroit. And this, our organization has been invited for the second time to apply for funding through the Community Foundation that is designated for Black organizations. And Black-led mental health pilot is running through the Community Foundation for Southeastern Michigan and largely funded by Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I believe that the existence of efforts like yours have helped make that possible. Because you're raising the awareness, you're willing to say, wait a minute, there's a problem here. We will talk in a few minutes about a survey that came out. But you highlighted this problem before the survey came out, that there were some issues here. And a lot of us know it privately, but I think that the role that you play is partly in what you do and partly in the consciousness that you're building among philanthropists and others, that we all need to do a better job.
Yeah, no, that's so I appreciate that. One of the conversations I've had recently with one of the foundations that we were looking to get funding from was, I was concerned about the posture that, the program officer had when we were having discussions, and the way that like he was like the timeliness of his response to some of my emails and whatnot. And I talked to some other people that I know that know the program officer, and they were like, "Yo, like this person is solid. Like I know he's working on your behalf. I know he's working on the behalf of Black Leaders Detroit. But when I talked to him, I was like, look, like I have to address something, right? Like for me, it's important that our posture is the posture of partners. And, I have the paranoia that comes along with being a Black man that grew up in the United States. And I said, that paranoia sometimes can save your life, and sometimes it can cost you a valuable relationship. And I wouldn't want it to cost me a valuable relationship, but like, what I do want you to ask yourself is, if you were talking to a white man that was heading an organization, would you take this long to respond? And when you respond, not even start with an apology, right? Like that's what I'm wondering. And, the way that we view ourselves at Black Leaders Detroit, and the way that we view the rest of the Black-led nonprofits, is we are the answer to the need of the foundations. If they're tasked with changing the world with their dollars, they can't do it without us, just the way they believe that we can't do it without them writing checks. You know what I mean? One of the projects that, as our COO is walking in to the room, and sometimes he tries to reel me back in when I start talking like this, but one of the things that I like to see is some of the foundations that have given us substantial funding send us a thank you letter, right? The same way that we do when people write big checks to us, right? Because I think that like we all need to understand that this is a partnership, that we are working together. And, when we sit across the table from each other, we should be looking eye to eye.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, that's deep. You said so many things. I think, you want to say I'm not paranoid, and people want to tell you that you're paranoid, but then there's evidence. So I'm going to move this question up just because of the fact of what you just said. There's evidence that you're not getting the same, that there's a double standard in terms of giving. When I took over an organization that was founded by a white woman, there were funders who really weren't sure they wanted to fund me at all. And I had to deal with having to prove that I was competent and deserving of my role. And I know a lot of times you have leadership changes, that happens, but there were also people who asked questions of me that were never asked of my predecessor. There were people who were holding me accountable for mistakes that had been made in the past, even though it was clear I had not made them. And it just made me feel at times like, if I were not a Black woman, would you give me the benefit of the doubt? Now, my relationships with most of those funders are wonderful now, but you have to get through this prove yourself thing. I saw one of our colleagues in Ann Arbor, Yodit, talk about a funder who was very slow to respond on Facebook. And she talked about how that funder raised questions and wasn't sure they wanted to fund because of the leadership turnaround, and they weren't sure. And so they came back around this year, and she said, no, thank you. I will never say no, thank you to money. I'm going to say this here, right? I mean, no, thank you to money from somebody who's not like, a Nazi.
The wealth of the wicked.
We will never be doing well enough to not want to do more. And I'm not saying that she is, I'm just saying this is me personally, but right. I understood immediately how she felt. I connected with that. And when you were just telling that story, I connected with that. So I want to ask a question before we talk about your investment in for-profit businesses. There was a recent Detroit Nonprofit Leadership Census conducted by the Michigan Nonprofit Association in partnership with Data Driven Detroit that showed disparities between Black-led and Black-founded and white-led and white-founded nonprofit organizations in terms of their assets and their income. And the first time we talked about Black Leaders Detroit, and I happen to believe that's the first time I ever met you, you talked about that. So what role are you playing in the nonprofit sector? I think I'm more familiar with your work in the for-profit sector. What work are you playing in the nonprofit sector?
Yeah, I mean, we feel like, again, like the work that's being done by some of the nonprofit leaders is the work that we can't do without. And I take it personally when some of the amazing Black leaders running some of these nonprofits are okay with working a full-time job, serving full-time in their capacity as the executive director or whatever role they play, and then still trying to have a life and manage a family and all of that. Like I've done that before, right? And I think that sometimes we feel like, at least I've been guilty of this, feel like if we're going to serve, that means we should be okay with struggling too. And I just don't see that happening.
I resent that.
Yes, yes. You learned it way earlier than I did. You know what I mean? You know, I had to, you know, my family went through some changes before I actually like learned that lesson. And, you know, one, I had the benefit of going and working for Life Remodeled and being inside of a well-funded organization, also a well-run organization. And one of the things that, you know, I said early on was that I wanted to learn how some of the white-led organizations raise so much money and so much momentum, right, so quickly. And I got a great lesson there. And I think that there's some things that, like, we really understand our issues. We've solved the problems that we set out and try to scale in launching these organizations. You know, sometimes we've overcome it ourselves or somebody in our families overcome it, but we don't always have the experience of running a business, right? The business side of things. And I think that's one of the things that I've been able to learn. And I've been an entrepreneur. I've run a small business even before this. I ran a small business poorly at one time until I learned that I was running it poorly and figured out how to
run it right.
have a well-run organization, right? But that's, again, I started out as a carpenter and not a business person, studying under a carpenter. And what I know and understand is that if we're going to run an organization, if we're just going to provide a service, if we're just going to read the kids, like, which is huge, and I hate to use the term just before that because that's huge, but if it's going to be an organization, we have to, again, look at what we need to sharpen our skills on and start to understand is like, what does the infrastructure look like, right? But like those, like you, Donna, myself, like Orlando, when we are with some of the other foundations and the other check writers, we have to be champions for them when we're in the room. We have to be fighting for them and not just ourselves, letting them know that, you know, there's nothing that some of the white-led organizations have and are bringing to the table that, especially when you're measuring impact, there's nothing that they are able to do that some of these other organizations aren't able to do. But for a number of reasons, they tend to be the gatekeepers when it comes to resources coming in to our community to provide services. And, you know, it should be time out for that. We all should be maturing past that, right? So.
But, you know, I think it's also fair to say that there are plenty of white-run nonprofits where people have not been trained in business and have not always done the right thing, who've had bad audits and made mistakes and misused grant funds, and the consequences are not the same as they are.
And get another chance.
There are other nonprofit organizations that are actually well-run with expert leadership, but Black faces, and the presumption is not that you know what you're doing. So you have to prove that you are not this person that may have been done. And that's where stereotyping comes in, I think, where there's this assumption because you're Black, you know, there are Black business nonprofit leaders who went to business school and so who know how to run a business better than most people. Where do we begin to, you know, right now, you know, you've got Chase Cantrell in building community value, who is, you know, an attorney, he's working in the business school. And
professor.
You have a professor, he's well qualified, but does he get the same benefit of the doubt as somebody who is different from him? And maybe he does, you know, but I think it's important for us to move beyond just skill building to acknowledge the fact that there's perceptions of capacity, perceptions of intent that just are.
Yeah.
I know this capacity word. Yes, that is.
And, and even if we use Chase Cantrell as a model, right? Like, he's had to do so much to prove himself that our colleagues from the white community just don't, right? And so I think that we all have to figure out, like, what is it? What role do we have to play in fixing it? And I think that, you know, when we can embrace the fact that we've been trained to not respect and believe in Black leadership the way that we do, like especially white leadership, even in Black spaces. Like we have to deal with that and just say that that's the reality and do the work to overcome it. And you're not just going to overcome it by acknowledging it, right? Like there's some work went into conditioning your mind to believe that. There's going to take some work to recondition your mind and reprogram your mind and unlearn some of that stuff. But the beautiful thing is we're here, right? The Chase Contrails of the world, Donna, we're here, and you know we'll make ourselves available to them if they come in with the right posture and like ready to write serious checks. I feel like, you know, like we're trying to transition from like the George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery kind of giving lots of people cover. And, you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say that sometimes I feel like, okay, like you're the cute new organization, so we're gonna give you some funding versus like really wanting to work with people that believe in the work that we do. And it's more nuanced than that just being a cookie cutter response, because like you said, Donna, like there's some really dope people working as program officers. There's some really dope people running some of the foundations right now. Even in the banking industry, where we've been had some success in receiving some funding. There's some amazing people that are serious about like bringing some solution and bringing some balance and some equity. I just hope that when the next natural catastrophe hits our nation, that we don't forget the things that we learn and the things that we're trying to implement, because, you know, some of these boards hadn't changed much, right? So
if you look at Gary Wozniak, for example, from Recovery Park, this was a stockbroker who went to prison for some type of fraud, who had a cocaine and alcohol addiction, who came back and was able to get the city of Detroit to give him 160 acres. And he got millions of dollars in funding to implement a project that had never been proven. He didn't have the track record. He didn't have anything. And when it all fell apart, they're like, who could know? Well, yeah, right. You should have known. There's right. No way in hell. Yeah, when you get your millions of dollars, I think what you're getting is good, but you need the million. I remember your vision. Yeah, and I think that Black Leaders Detroit needs to control millions of dollars to function as a foundation that is able to make decisions and to really re-grant money to causes that are worthy, to trust in your vision with big money, not small, we're going to see what you can do money. And I'm not in any way minimizing it, because your growth has been phenomenal, but I am saying that I'm hopeful for that I see a future for that you have a new foundation that can influence philanthropy in our community.
I have a question for the both of you. I guess given the numbers that have come out of the nonprofit leadership census that lays bare the revenue disparity for that exists between Black and white run organizations, as leaders of nonprofits, right? That study didn't give any points of advocacy or any recommendations as to how to remedy the problem. It just told you what the numbers were. How we talked about how you guys have interpreted it. How are you using it as a tool, an advocacy tool, to close that disparity?
I'll chime in. So this isn't even something that we're talking about like really publicly, so I won't give the other names, but working with a couple of other like Black women who head up organizations, and we meet regularly. And one of the things that we're talking about is having a unified definition that we want to present to like other Black leaders to say, this is what equity looks like, right? Because equity is a buzzword and folks can have it as a core value, and there's no way of measuring to see who's doing what, because everybody's grading themselves. So one of the things that I'd love to see, I'd love to hear y'all feedback on this too, is a unified definition of the term equity with, you know, like some bullet points to say, this is what it should look like. And if you're not doing this, call it something else, because Black Detroit has said, this is what equity is.
Mm.
fan of the word justice.
Mm.
I think equity is kind of limited. It brings people to a similar reparations. You know what I'm saying? Reparations is justice. Equal assets is not equity. We have a city that has had public policy damaging the lives, livelihoods, and as we started out talking about, wealth. Housing wealth is the biggest source of wealth in America.
Yes.
And we've had a stripping of our wealth in recent history. We've had so many different decisions made that people go back and say, well, maybe we shouldn't have done that, whether it's Detroit public schools being stripped of assets and then, restructured in another form, or the fact that we closed so many schools and really pushed students out of our district, which contributed to the declines in population. And so in order to get back to the period where we had where we had more homeowners in the 1970s, 1980s, we don't need equity. We need somebody to do some reparations to me. We need the government to say, we messed up and we're going to fix it. But instead we get, 500 years of my bad. And I'm a little sick of that. And I think that when you look at the devastating, irreparable harm of mass incarceration, for example, which is still happening, we're still mass incarcerating people. It's not something that happened and now it's fixed. We're still incarcerating people who have no business being in prison because they don't pose a real threat, a credible threat to people. And we could reopen mental health hospitals and get people some treatment, but we've decided that incarceration, we can't do mental health hospitals anyway. So now we have to. So when you look at that, for me, I have a hard time dealing with those terms. I think we have to really look at the harm that is done and the resources that are needed to begin repairing that harm, and the policy that is needed to begin repairing that harm. And if we could come together as a community and say, this is what's needed, and I'm not saying I'm with you, Black, white people can join in, Latinx, Middle Eastern people can join in helping our people get some repair, but I just feel as though it's not stopped. We're still doing it.
Yeah, and that is, justice. Justice is the word to, to remedy that, to repair that. I know that we are short on time, and Dwan, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of the barriers that you want to address with this new loan fund. Of course, one of the main barriers that any business owner would tell you, being a minority or Black business owner, is access to capital. And so you are enacting with Black Leaders Detroit a no interest loan program. Tell us about it. Who funding it? How many loans you giving out? Can a brother apply?
Definitely. So Black Leaders Detroit's no interest loan. It's our attempt to make sure that we're going to have access to capital, while again, justice, reparations is needed. And I'd love to continue to work on that. We realize that it doesn't make sense for us to wait for it to happen, right? Like we need to continue to work towards it, but we have to, create other avenues, right? So that's what we're looking to do here, and that's what we have done here. So it is a no interest loan that you can go to our website at blackleadersdetroit.org and apply. Go to get help, look in the drop down for no interest loan, and you can start the application process right there. I think some of the things that we've done was trying to be creative and make sure that, we're being good stewards, right? We ask people to donate $52 a year, and we want to be good stewards. We do our best to remove unnecessary hurdles and barriers, but we also don't. We want to be serious in when we communicate that we fully expect and need this money to be paid back, right? But we also believe that the Black entrepreneurs will pay it back. You know what I mean? It's like, we don't make the assumption that they won't, so many people do. I've heard a friend of mine say that, so many of the business owners are called high risk, and we don't even have the data to support that because nobody's loaning them money, right? So where are we getting that from? You know what I mean?
I like that.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I think that like I'm really happy to see is that, so we ask people to come to the table with one or more of these things. We ask them to come with some form of like collateral, right, to like support what they ask, or a co-signer. But the third thing that we ask people to bring is some receivables or a contract that's showing, all right, you have, you know, this funding come in. The best example I'm able to come up with is, we know that the Myers downtown has been, you know, giving contracts to some of the small business owners in the city of Detroit, right? If you had an increase in sales because you got a contract with the Myers or somebody like that, bring that to us. And once we look at, you know, your financials and see that it makes sense, and, you know, you need to stock up on more inventory or buy some equipment or whatever your needs are, hire someone else. We'll take a look at that, and that will help us make the decision as to like if you end up qualifying for funding or not. So we're excited. This year we're looking at as a pilot year for us. So we're asking everybody to extend some grace on our process as we get the applications in and the dollars out the door. But we want to encourage people to apply and know that everybody that's working on a decision-making side is somebody that wants to see Black entrepreneurs get access to capital, right?
So who is working on the decision-making side?
So what our process looks like is anybody that is applying for anything $10,000 or below, once the loan officer processes your application, once we take a look at all of your information, we will make that decision at the staffing level. At anything that's $10,000 or more, that goes to our funding board, and we have a funding board that's comprised of 9 Detroiters. If I go to try to name all of them, I might miss somebody, but I'm gonna give it a shot anyway. So there's a Vern Pettigrew from PwC, Rachel Allen's on that board. There's a dynamic sister named Aprilla Ringo, who was one of our early adopters, first people to sign up to donate to Black Leads Detroit, and just been a champion of ours in the community. April Anderson from Good Cakes and Bakes. Shannon Smith is on the funding board. We have Jason Barnett from Invest Detroit, Daniel North. Who else am I missing, Ken?
Well, it sounds like folks,
I listen to you.
most of the folks we know, and we know that they are doing the work, doing the work of justice and equity. I want to ask
Leon
you about,
Petty. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Are you partnering with a CDFI or a bank to administer this fund? So
as of right now, there are some strong discussions happening with Prosper Us, and you know, I'm sure that Chanel would be okay with me saying we're having conversations. Many of those conversations are a mentor type posture that they have with us. Them being somebody that's been doing this work for a while. Chanel is a wealth of knowledge, and she at the very least wants to see Black Leads Detroit get this right. So we've been very fortunate in that regard, to where she's been, you know, just a huge support in us getting this off the ground. And, you know, there's some talks of what could a potential partnership look like right now.
So a couple questions. I mean, this is amazing work. So first of all, let me start by saying amazing. It sounds like this is not credit score driven.
No, so we will take a look at your credit history, but that won't be the determining factor.
Right. Second question is, you know, a lot of businesses, Black businesses in Detroit, I think there was just an article that says that there are a lot of businesses that have no employees, a lot of LLCs, single proprietor LLCs, who may or may not have assets really to contribute. So does that mean that they are not eligible for loans this go round?
I would say it depends, right? If they can come with a strong cosigner, right? And it's like one of the things that we did was we replicated a model that's been used in the Jewish community. I think y'all heard me mention that last time I was on, right? So Hebrew Free Loan has been doing this in the Jewish community in response to them not having access to capital 127 years ago. They've given us their blueprint. Some of the things that they do just wouldn't translate well and wouldn't fit for our community. And one of the things that one of the ways that one of the things they make mandatory is you bring two cosigners, like to start the conversation. You come with two cosigners. We realized that's going to be really hard for our applicants to pull off. But we did leave the one cosigner as an option. But on to like your specific question, Donna, I think, it depends on like what you're asking for. Our loan size right now is $20,000 and below, right? So if you can show where you need, a smaller grant and, everything looks like you're in position to pay that back once we look at the financial stability of your organization then, or your company, then, by all means, we want you to apply.
How many loans are you hoping to get out the door?
So we have a goal of like right around $500,000 this year, right? And
wow,
that is with what we see, what we see coming in right now, right? Like there's some conversations being had that could take that number up substantially, but that's where we are right now. Now, this first quarter, we're going to do $100,000 to just go through our process, have a conversation with everybody that's involved. So that's where we're at first quarter, and we plan to get all those dollars out by the end of March.
And when does I'm sorry, go ahead, Donna.
No, go on.
When does how long is the long term?
So if someone wants to do a shorter term, then we're open to that. But right now it's 3 years, so 36 months.
Okay.
Yeah, and we give like a 2-month grace period to, once you receive the funds, it's 2 months before we're asking for the first payment. I mean, we really want things structured and set up for people to succeed.
Speaking of prosperous, one of our grads is trying to move into a brick and mortar building. And they have had like pop-ups and things like that, but they don't have a brick and mortar business. Would that be an appropriate business to consider applying for one of these loans?
Yes, it would be. I mean, so one of the requirements is that you've been in business for a year. So if they can show they've been in business for a year, then yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to make sure that everybody on Mack Avenue knows about this.
I know that's right. I was getting ready to say,
we're working very hard to support the small Black businesses in our community with a real focus on Mack Avenue. And we have a business that is trying to open up in the Mack market. And so I'm trying to make sure this business gets what they need to do so this year. It'll be good for us, but it'll be really good for the community. And so thank you. I mean, we're really excited about the fact that you're doing this. And in any way we can partner with you to get the word out. Maybe you can come to some of our meetings and just let people know this is what you're doing. That'll be great.
Please give us a meeting schedule. We'd love to do that. I mean, I know that
I'm everywhere, Donna. Dwan be everywhere. I don't know how you do it.
I mean, I love hanging out with people.
That's a great thing.
Yeah.
There's also, you're also doing something really cool for Black History Month. So not only are you launching this no interest loan program, but tell us about this other amazing, it's actually a flex. Like Dwan, like you're talking about some of these numbers and what the plans are and what's in the fund so flippantly, but it's a real flex. And this, what you're getting ready to announce, is also just another flex. What are you doing for the month of February 2022?
So for February 2022, we are going to give a grant away to one of the Black people that are making tomorrow's history right now today, right? So like, we are Black Leaders Detroit. So the way that we look to support the Black leaders is making sure they have access to capital. So the cool thing about this, Orlando, is that we asked our members, those that are donating $52 a year or more, we ask them to nominate.
Yeah.
Yes, right. So like we want to know who y'all think should be getting some of this money, right? And we got a decent amount of applicants, some amazing folks. We got more nominations than we are able to get in the 20 days. We're gonna do it every business day, so we're gonna take the weekends off. But y'all will see us if y'all follow us on social media. Every day we're going to be.
So you about to be like Publishers Clearinghouse showing up at people's front
Showing up
doors with a check.
Yep, we did the first one today, and we y'all see us again doing it again tomorrow. But all month long for Black History Month, we're going to be giving grants away to nonprofit leaders in our community.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for your contributions to nonprofit leaders in our community, I'm sure, and business leaders. You know, they say that it's better to give than to receive, and you do a lot of giving, so you must be a happy man.
Thank you. Well, I serve as the conduit, right, for y'all contributions. So, like, we got to thank y'all too. So I'll thank y'all on behalf of some of the people. Thank you, Orlando. Thank you, Donna, for the contributions that y'all do to make what we do at Black Leaders Detroit possible to begin with. And I say that with all seriousness.
No, we definitely appreciate it. It is amazing to witness and see the announcement of Black Leaders Detroit as you were still working a whole other full-time job to how it has maturated into what it is today. It is a source of pride, and it is so great to me to see and to be one of the first members that signed up on the spot. Me and Donna were both like, oh, okay, we're doing it. So I just got my receipt from last year's donation today. So I'm like still there, still going strong. Tell us, I mean, you're doing all the things. You out here flexing, you knocking on people's doors with money. What y'all doing next? What y'all got cooking? What's up? What's next?
Excuse me. Before we go, I'm gonna have to go because I have we're doing our Black History Month meeting for our community right now, but I'm going to go early. Thank you. Please continue this conversation. It's great seeing you, and I hope to see you in person soon.
Likewise. Thank you.
All right.
See you, Donna. All right, Dwan, what's next? What you got cooking?
So we are going to do the bike ride to Mackinac again this year.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. So you know the Mackinac Policy Conference is
it's going to be back in this regular slot, right?
Yeah. So it's going to be, I think, May 31st to June 3rd. So we're going to ride the week before, May 22nd to May 28th. We're going to be riding about 50 miles a day. So anybody that wants to join us, anybody that likes to ride, and you don't have to come out and ride the whole 50 miles a day. But if you ride the 50 miles and you start with us, we'll get you and your bike back to the starting point. So I'm excited about that. But look, when I say I have our goal is to get to 1 million people that are making this commitment.
Yes.
And we've been able to work with 2050 partners on our strategy for this coming year and growing our membership.
Grant.
Yeah, shout out to Tatiana and her team. But you know, we got some things in the works that in 2025, we're gonna do some stuff that's it's gonna be next level.
I can't wait.
I'm excited.
I mean, because you're already flexing. I want you to keep us on your call list, sir. So whenever you're rolling out something, let us know so that we can come on here and talk about it, man. I mean, it really is amazing to see. Thank you for coming on with us today and telling our listeners about the zero interest loan program for small Black businesses and the grant today. We will be tuned in to see you delivering checks. What is this? The Ellen DeGeneres show to people's doorsteps. Thank you so much, Dwan Dandridge.
Thanks for having me, man. Go to our website, blackleadersdetroit.org, and become a member. Donate $1 a week.
And to apply, and to apply for the loan, right?
And to apply for the no interest loan, all at the that same spot.
And so beyond the website, how can our listeners get in contact with y'all? Y'all got social media, phone number?
Yes, yeah. So we're Black BL Detroit on all platforms from Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook.
Love it. Thank you, Dwan. Listen, if you have topics that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Authentically Detroit, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. So, Dwan, you know we're bracing for a big snowstorm, and the city of Detroit has sent out just a notice to help residents sort of prepare for the major snowfall. And so the city is warning residents that, number one, you may experience a delay in city services. The buses may be slower. If it's garbage day, if your garbage day is tomorrow and it doesn't happen, the city is urging you to leave your Corvilles out on the street because they're going to get it. If you have the ability to park in a garage or in a driveway, the city is urging you to park in a garage or in a driveway so that they can have um, a clear street so that they're able to plow. We want you to know that the main streets will be the city's first priority to get plowed and salted, and the residential streets will come secondary to that. So they probably will be getting to the residential streets sometime between Thursday and Friday. Pay attention to um, your water service. The DWSD will continue to repair water main breaks with the priority to ensure that your water is clean and safe. And they will also continue to salt and remove ice for areas that are awaiting repairs. And so a lot that we're bracing ourselves for. We want you to be armed and safe. Go to the store if you haven't gone to the store already. Get
Yes.
everything that you need so that you can hunker down and be safe. If you need some assistance in getting food to you, if you're a senior citizen, you can't get to the grocery store and you need a ride. ECN is giving out rides to folks to places like their
Nice.
doctor's appointment and the grocery store. So you can call 313-571-2800 if you need a ride to go get your prescription and to the grocery store. And if you got to go to the bank, I know today is the first, so you still got to pay those bills. If you got to go to the bank, ECN is happy to provide a ride for you to those places. All right, it is time for shout outs. Dwan, you got any shout outs?
Yeah, I want to shout out like some of my team members. I said James Murray, but Ken Elkins came on as our COO. He was one of our founding board members, and I just want to give
I
him
think
a
I
shout
met him
out.
at the Freedom Fund
Yep,
dinner, right?
yep, yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Um, so, oh yeah, the recipient of our grant day, I want to give Zena Davis a shout out over at Children of the Rising Sun Empowerment Center. I got a chance to deliver her check today. A dope spot, an amazing spot. Staff was crazy, like friendly and loving, and you could tell that the kids there were loved. And in addition to that, the facility is top notch. So the space was just like really, really dope. So shout out to her and her team.
All right, Dwan over there playing Santa Claus. Listen, I want to shout out our guest from last week, the amazing Kirk Mays, who received a Vanguard Award from the Michigan Chronicle as a man of excellence here in the city of Detroit last Thursday, along with some other familiar names that we would know. Senator Adam Ollier, who's an habitual guest on this show, Nathaniel Wallace at the Knight Foundation, all friends to the show who have been on this show before. Shout out to you all for being exceptional. Shout out to you all for being men of excellence. Dwan, I'm pretty sure you up next, bro. I'm pretty sure it's coming.
Look, Kurt definitely deserves it, man. Yeah, phenomenal brother, man, and just a good friend.
Yeah, a great friend, a mentor to myself. Listen, happy Black History Month. We thank you so much for listening. As always, we want you to catch the wave.